After I had finished getting Rosias ready, I was nervous. I knew I shouldn't have gotten so wrapped up in everything. I had been preparing myself the entire week for this day, but something deep down inside felt wrong. It felt wrong when I wished for him to meet his mysterious lady at the ball. It felt wrong to let him go at all. I could barely look him in the eye, even though I had been joking around and nagging him as he got ready. Something about the way he smiled at me at the festival made my heart sink. As I let him go, I regretted my wish. As much as I wanted him to be happy and to fall for the woman he loved, I wanted it to be me. After the years together and the fleeting conversations, I wanted nothing more than to be in his arms. But that was wishful thinking for a girl with a low noble title. I mean, someone with a station such as his would never fall for a girl like me. We were friends, master and servant. Nothing more. Watching him walk out the door made me weak. The colors swirling around, something that didn't occur very often. I had never spoken of it, but at times where my heart wavered and my thoughts were a mess, my eyes played tricks on me. As such, I learned to stay level-headed. But now, all alone in his room, I could do nothing but sink to the floor in agony, as my head and heart pounded like that of the footsteps of the ancient dragons. I cried on the floor, silently, writhing in agony and despair for my feelings which were never to be reciprocated. It was silly, really, crying over nothing. It wasn't as if I had alerted him. I just kept it inside like a fool. But even if I had told him, what was the use? None of that mattered now. I was content enough with this, as he lay his head on my lap, drunk from the finest wine in the land. After I finished singing my song, as he slept peacefully, I confessed my feelings, falling on deaf ears. I wished at that very moment for the world to stop for a while, so that I could relish this time a while longer. But I suppose the gods were not listening that night. All the same, I kissed his forehead and slept peacefully whilst holding his hand. The princess had not felt anything like that for the past few years. She had felt so safe and comforted for once. She had let her guard down. She had always been so frigid in the years prior, but as soon as she met her knight, she felt like her heart and soul had resonated with his in an unexplainable way. She did not fear the Plectere knight, as she did previously with her other guards. She felt at home. After being attacked by Adder, she recalled that awful night and those memories. She wasn't sure if it was Despina's doing, or just that of the awful nights. She could remember her heart surging, the powers she had lost flowing within her, as if the gods had released her shackles, locked behind the poison that inhibited her memories. As she lay on the floor, disheveled and kicking for mercy as her guard laid his hands on her, she cut him. It was water, the same as her mother, a deep slice torn off as he stumbled backward. Aera's mind went blank. When she had finally awoken, the guard was no longer a solid mass. Her hands were soaked, and she was terrified. The stench and utter gruesome scene terrified her. She had killed him. She fell over once more, later waking in her bed, and her room clean spotless with no trace of his body or blood. She only found an unfamiliar and single red thread stretching across her room. She followed it, leading her to a small cabinet. As she opened it, the single red string was simply tied to a badge depicting a wave. She was not sure what it meant, but she swore that the gods had protected her. As she made her way home, she couldn't bear to look at her knight. She wasn't angry. In fact, she felt bad for him. She could sense his regret and frustration. She was the one who sent him away after all. She was the one who faltered. She messed up. He could only listen to her commands after all. And so, once she returned to her chambers, and she sat in her room only lit by a dim candle, Aera cried, as much as she possibly could. She regretted her actions. She recalled the blood and hands that hurt her. She just wished that she wasn't a powerless princess. Aera bawled her eyes out, not knowing what else to do. She simply felt so alone. She wished that her knight was there, the only one who had been there for her for the past few months. She wished she had just turned back around and cried into his chest as she wailed about her terrifying memories. But she was afraid of letting him know. She had no one. Just then, as her tears continued to fall from her cheeks to the soaked pillowcase below, she heard the slight shifting of armor outside her room. As she looked toward her door, she could see her knight's aura seeping underneath it, black and navy, filled with regrets and frustrations. She wished she could do something for him to let him know it wasn't his fault. So she opened her door. As drying tears streaked her face, she simply beckoned him inside. This was the first time she had ever called him into her chamber so late at night. When she finally saw his face, she felt at ease. He seemed so upset. She wasn't sure what to do now. So, the princess asked him to simply sit on the couch and to remove his armor. As he listened to her order solemnly, she commanded him once more to bandage her arm properly. His eyes narrowed at the wound, and clicked his tongue in annoyance. His touch was soft and gentle, as if she was so brittle she would break. She sighed and sat still as he cleaned her arm and gave her fresh bandages, tossing away the dirty handkerchief on the table. The princess swept away a stray piece of his fringe and gave him a small smile. The Plectere knight did not know what to do, but simply to stare at his princess. This closeness was not a common occurrence between the knight and Princess Aera, but perhaps the events that unfolded that evening had brought them closer through the pain and frustration. Princess Aera, who was feeling comfortable enough, simply sat next to the knight, who continued to be silent after he had finished bandaging her up. She leaned against his shoulder and closed her eyes. She felt safe. He felt safe. The knight, then, perhaps too boldly, laid his hand on top of hers, but she reciprocated by squeezing his hand in return. Perhaps this knight was the only one the small and pathetic princess could entrust her heart to. Even though she had been initially afraid of letting anyone into her frigid heart, he simply melted the ice away. And although the Plectere knight had been upset, frustrated, and afraid, the princess's small gesture and quiet voice calmed the storm brewing in his mind. Their hearts warmed, their eyes closed shut, simply healing whilst in silence till the morning glow. After his princess walked away from him, he followed after her silently, although this was his usual routine, he was on even higher alert. After the incident with the snake himself, Adder had laid a paw on her. The Plectere knight felt disappointed in himself for letting it happen in the first place. Had he let anything happen to her, he would never be forgiven by Prince Leo, nor himself. Could Princess Aera ever truly forgive him for such a misstep? He was afraid of how their relationship would change. As he looked ahead at the princess's silhouette, he thought over the events of that night. It had already been a few months since they had been introduced as Plectere Knight and first Princess of Penkos. It was a rather leisurely job, apart from ridding the fourth palace of unwanted nuisances. The princess always gave him clothes and rewarded him with odd opportunities like a meal with her. He found her pleasant and quite amusing. She always shared her ideas and thoughts and odd experiences with him. Sometimes he felt it was quite naive of her to share these things with a man who she barely knew or even remembered. But he ignored it, since she really only trusted him and her brothers. The Plectere knight had never shared many specifics about his own life, but that night he did share a little more than usual, and he learned more about her in return. They also shared a dance, something he hadn't done since he was a squire. It had probably been 5 years since he had last danced at a fancy ball. To be honest, he had never liked it very much. The lights, noise, and pressure weren't his favorites, though, tonight, he found it palatable. Probably more than palatable, to be fair. He genuinely smiled that night as he twirled around the dance floor with Aera in his arms. He also found it rather cute when she flushed like a little tomato. He did like to tease her nonchalantly after all. However, he regretted this moment of indulgence. When she asked for a breather, he thought nothing of it, but when he returned with a glass of water for her, his world went red at the sight of Adder laying his hands on her. At that moment, he wanted to end the Targathon line. Adder had always been a pain, but at that moment, the often aloof knight wanted Adder to experience the pain instead. But Aera's quivering voice snapped him out of it. Perhaps the sight of his mutilated body would frighten her more, which was something he didn't want. When Adder turned tail, Aera turned around and stood for a moment, head to the Plectere knight's chest. Calming down, she asked him to go home. The ride in the carriage was awkward, silent, but when she finally made it home, it was like a layer of her shield had broken. She admitted to fear. It was like her eyes had seen something like this before. Before she left and turned away, she gave him a brooch, something the Plectere knight did not expect to receive. However, this small token would remind him of this night, and the duty he had to protect and care for her, and so, as he followed her in, he continued with his usual routine. He would wait for her to finish bathing, then he waited for the flickering light under her door to go out. He would usually wait for her room to go silent before checking the perimeter and heading to his own chambers. However, that night, it was not silent. It was filled with cries, his princess's cries. It was not something he had not heard before, but tonight, of all nights, it made his heart sink.
Crown Princess Wisteria was the shining gem of the empire. She was the eldest child of Emperor Nell and Empress Regina. Growing up as the Crown Princess, one would think the responsibilities would weigh heavily upon her shoulders. But, with the utmost grace, she never failed to bring results to the table. There was little Princess Wisteria could do wrong. She was skilled in battle, administration, and even the oddball hobby of gardening. She was adored by the people of Penkos, thanks to her countless visits around the empire. Princess Wisteria was rather humble in nature, and never flaunted her status to anyone. At the age of 21, Princess Wisteria was betrothed to Lord Faraz of House Targathon, the second son. They had a whirlwind romance, constantly sending letters of affection to one another. The couple itself was beloved by the people, and the news of them and their affection spread far and wide. Externally, the couple seemed perfect, a match made by the gods themselves. Internally, behind closed doors, the couple would begin to fall apart. They had loved one another truly, but over time Lord Faraz had seemed to grow increasingly problematic, favoring his mother's opinions over Princess Wistaria's. Arguments could be heard halls away, and Princess Wisteria always seemed to be at the losing end, unable to convince Lord Faraz to follow his own heart. These arguments, however, would escalate far beyond what they should have. On the night of Princess Wisteria's 25th birthday, a ball was hosted in celebration. Lord Faraz was meant to be at the ball with her, but he was called away by his mother, humiliating Princess Wisteria in the process. After the event was over, Lord Faraz and Princess Wisteria began to have another argument. Princess Wisteria had supposedly threatened to leave him, and this seemingly triggered Lord Faraz into a violent frenzy. Lord Faraz quickly escaped, seeking asylum within his family home. However, his family turned him away, allowing him to be captured by the authorities. He was later tried for his crimes and sentenced to a lifetime in the Targathon Gorge. In his cell, 3 days before he would be sent off to exile, Lord Faraz took his own life. The death of both Princess Wisteria and Lord Faraz would shock the Empire, and this would cause Empress Regina to go into shock as well. Empress Regina would later die after being sickly for months. Emperor Nel felt best to step down, and to allow his son, Prince Neo, to take the crown, alongside his wives, Lady Erin of House Citus, and Lady Despina of House Targathon, the sister of Lord Faraz.
Oh, brother. I apologize I could not attend the meeting. I was busy in Claris again. Indeed, I've just returned. The church is quite busy. There's much more work to be done to distribute relief. I've talked to a few members of the clergy, and I don't know. In the next month, we might be able to distribute, well, to provide aid for at least 50% of the population, but we're unsure. Oh, you look rather distressed. Sit. Tea? What is it? What about Adept? What will the Elder Council do to him if we turn him over? He'll be what? No, you can't be serious. They can't kill him. He's the legitimate heir. The only one alive that we know of. The guilt has been cleared off his name and back. The Elder Council is insane. You know what they're getting at by asking for such a thing. The opportunity is perfect to reform Claris into an oligarchy. They've always been up to no good. You remember the meetings during the Council of Astrea. Hell, Lord Falco was the one who put forth those claims for Attican land. They have nothing to offer. They have no cards to play. Penkos won this war fair and square without their assistance. They think they can suddenly betray their brethren to ask for such a ridiculous thing? They're fools. But it is your decision to make, Leo. Me? Well, it is a difficult one to make. Right now the people are hurting. All of us. The Elder Council cannot be trusted. Penkos wishes for peace among the three. We have bigger problems than silly infighting between the regions. Morena's will must be executed. As for Adept, I do not wish to kill him. He is legitimized within the laws of Claris. He is a valuable asset to us. But we cannot keep him in the dungeons forever. He is useless that way. But if we can raise his popularity, show that he can be a competent and compassionate king, perhaps we can reunite the two regions once more. Indeed. He is too far arrogant.
We cannot trust that he will be able to do this on his own. Leo, I have been thinking on this, and I have received some guidance. And so I have an idea. It will practically ruin Miro and Despina's plans. Everything they went through. Destroyed. Marry me to him. To Adept.
Oh, I didn't think you'd be here. I guess you saw that. I know I'm not usually this emotional. I was angry for both of us, but I shouldn't have yelled at him, even though he deserved it. I just can't believe she's with child. Would you mind just sitting here a while with me? We haven't talked for a long, long time. Between the babies and the work, I barely had time to talk to you like before. Remember when we were younger? We were all such good friends. Does he visit you and the children often? What a horrid man. And, well, what of your mother? She didn't beat you too harshly, did she? You shouldn't stand for it. If I had my way, I'd put her in her place. I know. You were always a meek one, weren't you? I don't know how you survived that place, honestly, but it's good now that you're far away from her. Oh, well, I don't think I should tell them. They'd be quite upset, but even so, they'd probably side with her over me. I was so excited, too. I knew that there was something wrong, but I just didn't want to ask. I mean, what other purpose do I have? It's all I've ever known. I can't demand a divorce. I know. I have the right to, but I still love him, despite all that. You know I've loved him for such a long time. And even that didn't change how I felt. I'm such a fool, aren't I? I'm sorry. I wish it was better for the both of us. You're the best sister. You know that? Thank you for being here with me. It's like when we were younger, and we used to hide underneath the table during those boring garden parties. Hey, will you make a promise with me, for old time's sake? All right. If I disappear one day, or God's forbid above I pass, promise me you'll take care of my children for me, even though this little one isn't born yet. Just promise me. Oh, of course. Same for you. I promise that if anything happens, your children will be safe. Apologies. It seems my little lion needs my attention again. I will be on my way then. Though, I enjoy this time together. All right. I'll see you sometime later. Thank you again. I told you I'm okay. This is nothing. It's not like I haven't died before. Why are you being so nice anyway? Just a little more, right? Just get it over with already. I need to get back in. Infra will need more hands. Also, why did you rush in like that? Why are you being so reckless? If you lose an arm, it isn't coming back unless Aya is here, you know? This is why I hate you. I hate you when you're like this, you idiot. I don't owe you after this. What? Why are you being so insufferable even during times like this? Me? Be quiet. Please, just reattach my leg already. Please. Fine. I'll do whatever you want. Just hurry up. Thank you. So, what do you want? Hurry up. I don't need you to babble. We need to get back to the field. Huh? Is that all? Really? You're so weird. Fine. One meal. What is it with mortals? Wait 1 second. Promise me you won't be rushing in like that again, all right? You're a powerful asset to us. We cannot lose you. I cannot lose you, no matter how annoying you are. So, if I am hurt like this again, do not, under any circumstances, rush in there and drag me back. All right? Good. Now, let's go. Taros' army is waiting on the west side to enter. They need you to clear the silt. They said she's gravely injured after the battle at Targathon. Once we get them in, we'll have to head to the front lines. She's going to require divine intervention if she's going to live or even fight any longer. All right, let's get this done. Then we can have a dumb meal together.
Every day began at 6 a.m. sharp in the Targathon household. If you woke 3 strikes after the bell, it would earn you a kneeling and a bed of shards. After you were done, the house light mage would simply heal the wounds, but sometimes scars were left behind, as you can see. As the sole girl of the household, you were dressed in rather tight and uncomfortable clothing. You were to be a sharp jewel. Breakfast was always tense, and our foods were measured out for us. Sometimes we would go without food because we had eaten too much the other day at a social event. We were meant to be perfect. Mother would never let me be. I had to be perfect. It was the only way. We had a strict schedule that we had to endure every day, with little time for breaks. Although being raised in the Targathon household was historically difficult, it was extreme for this generation. And, as you know, Mother, had made her way into the main Targathon household after charming my father and wrapping him around her little finger. At first, her presence was unwelcome, but soon enough, they understood that she was a reckoning to be dealt with. Father even seemed to kneel when she spoke, and he was the real head. Mother was the one in control. She was the one who monitored her every movement to create perfect and powerful pawns. And I was her only daughter. I was prim and proper. She said that I was nearly perfect. She said I was beautiful, which would work in my favor. But I was weak. I was rather timid and useless. Although I had a great aptitude for fire magic, it meant nothing if I was afraid, if I was sickly. I was also apparently too kind and friendly for her liking, but that's just how I was. How could I possibly change? In the evening, we would gather for dinner, and I was often punished, and I would eat at a lone table in the corner. My elder brother would laugh at me, while my younger brother trembled in fear and just complied. We would take our baths and quickly settle into our beds. If we did not get in by 9 p.m., Mother would make us get up at 5. Sometimes she would seal us in our rooms for the next day without food or water, as punishment. It was difficult, and though I would succumb to Mother's training to be perfect as I could be, it was clear among close friends that it was merely a facade. I was not a cruel woman. I could never be. It just wasn't in my nature, and nothing could ever change that.
It is day 15, I think. After losing my way in the silt, the stars and the sun do not shine through, and as such, I cannot tell what day it truly is. It has all become a blur after that day. Sometimes I feel like I can still hear his voice. It haunts me. I couldn't sleep after that day. I needed to know more. I needed to know why they said that to me. I needed to know what it meant. I don't know how far I've walked. It's cold, and I want to go home. But I can't. Not yet. I ran out of water the other day, and I think I've been walking along the river's edge for a while. It doesn't flow, it's simply still, so I suppose it's not a river, but it looks like one. After a while, the red color faded away and it became clear, and I took the chance and drank it. And I'm okay. I'm alive, it seems, at least. That's all that really matters, after all. The others, they've all died. I honestly don't know what to do anymore. I don't even know where I am. Can't even see the stars. It's been so long since I've seen the damn stars. Gods, it once brought me comfort to know that we laid underneath the same stars, even if we were far away from each other. But this dark sky does not bring me comfort any longer. The blood won't come off me, and I don't know if I should hide or not, and I hear footsteps everywhere, but cannot see a thing. I think I'm losing my mind. These lonely letters will never reach you, will they? You stopped writing to me after a year, so I don't even know where you are, or if you even received my other ones. I'll die out here and never accomplish a thing. I'll never see my brother, I'll never see you. I'll just be another lost corpse. I'll never see the sun, moon, or stars again. I'll never taste the first snowflake of the season. But I have to find out more. I need to know the answers. I need to know why. I need to know what happened. Even if I never make it out of the silt. I need to know. It's the only way I'll accept death. May the Six bless me with the Swift One.
Why? Stop giving me terrible excuses. You're absolutely wretched. Stop. That's not the reason. I know it's not the reason, Faraz. It's not. It's your mother. Why is she so atrocious? Why must you listen to your mother so closely? And so what? Don't you understand how detrimental this is to us? I am sick and tired of her meddling. I just don't know what to think anymore. I'm just upset. She's horrid, you know? She criticizes me all the time, and simply, I will not deal with it any longer. I am the Crown Princess, not just some doll to play around with simply because we are married. That's so rich coming from you. It seems like you're married to your own mother rather than me, considering how much more attention and care you put into your relationship with her. You do not. You barely listen to me nowadays, and you share nothing. Fine. I never expected you to act this way. I'm disappointed in you and us. I loved you so sincerely, and yet here we are. And stop listening to her so much. Every action, every opinion you have is influenced by her. Why? You are the husband of the future Empress. You don't need her. You have me. And I love you, and surely our feelings were real. I simply struggle to understand why you continue to ruin our marriage by listening to her. Please, you are to be a prince consort soon enough. What? What does she want? She is ruining us, Raz. I fell in love with you. I wanted to marry you, not you and your mother. Just stop. Stop. I'm tired. Leave. Leave, Faraz. Faraz.
Oh, don't worry about me, Aera. I'll be fine. You've got to worry about yourself too, you know. You're much farther along than I am. Thank you for visiting me this whole morning, though. Huh? Right. Well, I hope the estates are still in order. I know dealing with all those papers must be a pain. Yes. I'll see you for tea next week. Safe travels to Ladle. Good afternoon. Don't fret about me. I'm fine. I'm surprised you came back from work so early. I would have thought that after you came back, you would be stuck in your study. Miss me? Well, we missed you too. Our little chestnut is being a little rowdy one today. Must be impatient to come into the world. But you've got to be good and wait. No, I'm fine. Soon enough, though, I won't be the only one who's troubled. Anyway, come here and feel chestnut kicking. Chestnut was so calm till you came in. Must have known Daddy was near. So, how are you? Did everything go well? Ah, I see. Well, it's good that they're making progress. I do hope that this war will be over soon. It will be a much better world when we're at peace. I do pray that Leo, Annium, and Livius are all safe. To have our, well, Crown Prince on the battlefield, it must be a morale boost, but at the same time, how frightening. Saya and Vittoria must also have their hands full dealing with things here at home. Indeed, I spoke to her the other day. Well, you know her. She's warming up, but we're becoming friends. And she's a lovely chat. She seems to have dreams of having children of her own, but I suppose that's on hold for now. She quite liked being able to feel my tummy. And Vittoria's always putting on a strong face, but I know she's worried for Leo. Erin even visited recently. She's gotten quite funny. I heard she's been reading from some old joke books for some reason. And she's happily engaged, if you didn't know. Who? Prince Ides, I believe. I'm surprised he even decided to get married, but I suppose that they can start traveling together. Indeed. From what I hear, Vesper does send them quite far. She did ask something, though. We can't keep calling our little one Chestnut, so do you have any ideas for a name? Well, I look through plenty of books, and there's simply so many. I'm not quite sure what fits. Anything come to mind for you? Oh. Indeed. No, that works quite well. Our bright and shining light. Lux.